Hello there, friends. It is Jimmy Maverick, and I wanted to give you some information about one of the features on my app in My Perfect Fantasy Draft, and that is these little icons that appear next to players' names on the player list. What do they mean, and how do they impact the player? Now, the first thing I want to tell you about is if you have any questions about this, there is this Legend tab right here. You just click on the Legend, and it will give you a description of what each of the little icons mean, as well as what each of the columns mean. So let's just go through all the little icons and I'll explain how they impact the player. So you can see next to running backs, there'll either be a 300 plus or a 250 plus if they get a heavy enough volume. That's just the total number of opportunities they had with the ball during the prior season. And I define opportunities as touches plus receptions. So how many times do they actually touch the ball? If it's over 300, I consider that excessive usage. And because of that, they get a negative 1-star outlook on their rating. And it's just it's a wear and tear issue. It's a lot of, it's taking a lot of hits. Basically, if you're touching the ball 300 times, you're getting tackled basically 300 times, right? 250 does not have any sort of penalty associated with it, but it's just showing that they are close to a very high usage during the prior season. The next thing you'll see are these little dollar signs. There's little silver dollar signs, and if we go down a little bit further, you'll see some gold dollar signs. Now, these are good things. These are contract year designations. If they have a gold dollar, that means their contract expires after this season. And if they have a silver dollar, it means their contract expires after next season. So these are the kind of players I love to target. And by the way, this is only rookie contracts, only players on rookie contracts whose those contracts are expiring. Basically, if they have a silver dollar, they get plus 1 star to their outlook, and if they have a gold dollar, they get plus 2 stars. So it's a good thing to see next to a player name. On the flip side, if you see this little cocktail glass, this little red cocktail glass here, that means the player has signed a big multi-year contract extension. I call this the big contract hangover, and I consider players that receive large contract extensions as a negative because their performance tends to slack off the year after they sign a big contract. So they get negative 1 star to their outlook. Going a little bit farther down, you can see this little green upward-facing arrow, and you can also see red downward-facing arrows. That is either an upward trend or a downward trend. Now, a player has to be in the league for at least 3 full seasons, so this would they'd be going into their 4th season here. And if their opportunities has been increasing each year. So from year 1 to year 2, it went up. And then from year 2 to year 3, it went up. They get the green upward facing arrow and they get plus 1 star to their outlook. The red is the opposite. The downward facing arrow is the opposite. If they've had declining usage in each of the past 3 seasons, they get the red arrow and they get minus 1 star to their outlook. The icon that carries the biggest penalty, though, is the injury designation. And I have to say that I do not mess around with injuries on this app. As soon as the player has an injury designation, they are no longer recommended. And this icon carries a minus 3 star to their outlook. So you can see Julio Jones, he's a great player, but because he has this injury designation, he's only getting 1 star on his outlook right now. Now, the key word for me with injured players is I need to see them back as a full participant in practice before that injury designation can come off. Once it comes off, those stars will come back into their outlook, and a player like Julio Jones would obviously be recommended at that point. But for right now, because of the injury, I would not recommend him. I would not take him in any of my drafts. Let's see here. I think those are, oh yes, here is a little player. You see a little guy catching a football right here. What that means is that's a player that returns either kickoffs or punts. So it's additional opportunities with the ball, and it's additional opportunities to score touchdowns and get return yards. So if your league gives you points for return yards, that's an important designation to have. The only other one that I have is the suspension icon, and Golden Tate. I just forwarded to Golden Tate here. If you see this little jail cell next to their name, that means they are facing a suspension. Suspensions give you minus 2 stars to your outlook, and if you want to see how long the suspension is for, just click on the player name, scroll down to the injury notes, and it'll tell you. In this case, Golden Tate is facing a 4-game suspension for performance-enhancing substance violation. So that just gives you important pieces of information that you need to know. But these icons are designed to give you critical information that you need when you are in the draft and you're trying to make the decision between player X and player Y. And you can see that player X, he signed a big contract extension this past year, but player Y has a contract year. Who do I want to take? Well, this is going to give you the clue that says, okay, I want to take the guy whose contract is expiring because I think he's going to outperform this year. So that's how it works. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the video, and happy drafting, everybody.